I think, yay, we are live right now. I think I have to just quickly go to Facebook though and make it public so that it
Okay,
does it. So hold on just a second. Sorry.
that's
Uh,
okay.
to make sure it's public.
This is all live and
Yay.
real,
All live and real
all happening as we see it
as
happening.
we speak. Yeah, see, it doesn't do public unless you go in and change it while you're doing it. Okay, I'm
I love
back.
it.
It only shows live for my friends, which I have 5,000 close friends. However,
Yes, but
I
for
won't
that
leave them.
5,000 and first person is shut out until you open the
Right.
doors.
What the
That's right.
heck?
I know.
Yeah, I didn't know about the limit at first.
Zuckerberg, what are you doing to us?
Right. Why is there a friend limit? That seems like mean.
I can fit 5,020 people in my living room. Why can't I have them in my, anyway, it doesn't.
What? Wait a minute.
I've never really tried. Maybe I can't.
Oh, you know what I
5,000 very
learned
little
is
tiny people.
I can
Yes.
fit I can fit 25 people's cars in my uh parking place here at my house. I didn't know
Wow.
that. Right.
That's very cool.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you heard this, but the community theater in town decided to do a play, or I should say, I kind of suggested it, but I didn't know we were really going to do it. It was
Yes.
just like a offhanded thing, and then we did it. But none of the public buildings were open already in January here,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, well, you know what? I got a big room. We could rehearse there. And so for 7 weeks, 25 people came 3 times a week.
Oh my goodness.
And it was great though. You drive, in the parking lot, it was just full. And to
My,
have
you
so
know,
many
my
people, it was
my
funny.
my mother ran a theater in our home. She ran a children's theater.
Oh,
One of her things, kind of the linchpin of her teaching, she was a school teacher. She had kids do serious drama. I mean, they would do Shakespeare and drink water and
wow.
serious stuff, and grade school kids. And she also was a playwright, so she wrote plays for kids
Wow.
about all the things they were learning in history. And she created a theater called the Front Porch Theater, which was off our front porch in our yard.
Oh,
We
oh,
put up a
that's
circus
neat.
tent in our front yard and give
Wow.
evening performances. So
Oh,
uh,
that is
grew up
awesome.
with a theater in my front yard.
That is so awesome. You always have the awesomest stories. Yeah.
Well, I have been awesome parents,
That
and
is.
now an awesome novel.
Yeah, which we should talk about, right? So I know we talked already a couple times on Monday Morning Madness, and by the way, as we all know, the name of my show makes no sense anymore. I used to do it Monday morning, but I figure, hey, it's Monday somewhere.
It's morning
Monday
somewhere.
morning
That's
somewhere.
right. That's right.
It's Monday somewhere.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
Monday, most
So,
places.
but I'm so excited about this second book. Now I got to tell you, in the Success Alliance, the Go Giver Success Alliance, which you are a
Yes,
co-author of the Go Giver series,
correct.
one of my favorite things is that I'm doing stuff I don't normally do,
Yes.
which is reading a thriller. That is not
Yeah.
in my repertoire. I usually read business books or something like that. The only
Yes.
one I ever did read was is it Sidney Sheldon?
Oh
Way,
yeah.
way back. I read all of his way, way back, and then never did go to someone else. So
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Scott
that some-
Turow is a natural step from Sidney Sheldon, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
okay?
Like, hey,
Well, evidently, so is John David Mann.
well, I guess so. And now that's the case. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. But I never it even dawned on me to do that. Never to pick up a book that wasn't something
You know,
functional.
I have so many fans, readers of the Finn books now that are people or just like what you described just now, who don't really read fillers or don't read. That's not what they normally read. But they pick them up because they know the Go Giver, they know me, or they're in our sphere,
Yeah.
whatever, and they're loving it. And I think that's so much fun because I've always thought it's good to expand your frame of reference, the sphere of what what you're familiar with. But also, a lot of people have this conception. Like somebody just asked on an interview a week ago. Someone said, "Now, are the events in this book based on real life, or is this purely fiction in order to escape reality?" And it's like Does it have to be either or? I have never bought this idea that the goal of a novel is to escape your humdrum drudgery reality. That's not my goal.
Oh,
That's
I
not what
agree.
fiction, that's not what novels are for me. I mean, there there certainly can be escapist fun. I mean, there are all kinds of hilarious comedies that are they're just hilarious.
Yeah.
Although I bring their hilarity into my life too. For me, the value of a great novel is what you take with you and bring into your life. It isn't an escape from your life. It gives you tools to engage in your life. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't know. They just don't realize that when you read a great thriller, if it's a good thriller, it isn't just to be entertained. It isn't just to escape from the problems in your life and the humdrum reality of your life, the so-called. It's because you relate to the people in the story and you take away from it. You bring something from that, just like you would from the Go Giver or from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or from Seth Godin or from whatever. You bring human capabilities and faculties and skills even and views, ways of approach, perspectives. When Finn goes through these challenges that he goes through, our hero Finn, who has a very difficult past and parts of it which he doesn't remember, and when he goes through these difficult circumstances, you can draw from that, draw from what he goes through, and draw from his resilience and his ingenuity, and even his struggle for finding his own morality. That's my goal anyway. I mean, I forget who. Some novelist was famous, not famous enough for me to remember, famous for saying if you want to send a message, call Western Union. This is what novelists are sort of taught to think. It's like, don't try to be too highbrow and make a theme and send a message with your novel. Just give people a good story. I don't buy that. I don't think you sit down as a novelist to say, now, I want people to understand this. You don't do that. That would be presumptuous, I think. I think you sit down to write a good story. You sit down to write something that was gripping. But when you engage with a real character on the page, novelists are observers of life. And so you bring all your observations of life and all your experiences into it, and so it's going to be and especially a thriller because it's so concentrated. Listen to me, I'm talking on and on. I haven't let you get a word in edgewise.
Oh,
You
no,
haven't
no,
even
no.
asked me a question yet.
It's funny. I end up doing the same thing with your book that I do as a business owner when I walk into a store. I'll say, I wonder why they put that by the register. Well, the margin must be the best on that item.
I
I
love
end up,
that.
uh, I do that when I go places. That's just how I think. I was
Yeah.
thinking that in the book. I wonder if he's been here. I wonder if he had to research it a lot. I wonder. I'm thinking all that when I'm reading the book. Is
Yes.
that a weird thing?
I think that's awesome. No, I think that's really, really interesting. People, my wife and I just finished Breaking Bad on
Oh,
Netflix last night,
yeah.
and we just watched the Breaking Bad movie El Camino that Vince Gilligan made after he'd done the series 5 years later. And after the movie played, there was this, behind the movie interviews with actors and the director and the production people and everything, a little documentary about how much do we all love the making of movies, about our movies that we like, right?
Yeah.
We're fascinated with getting behind the scenes. So I think if people always are intrigued with like, now what was the author experience? Is that based on reality? Did he
Oh, okay.
actually
So
go
that's the
there? Did he have to
normal thing.
research that? Yeah. In other words, Lisa Wilbur, I think you're normal.
Oh no.
Not usual, not average, that's for
Yeah.
certain, but at least within the realm of normality, I think.
I think I've fought my whole life against that myself.
Well, you're not standard, I can say that. That's
I'm not
that's
standard. Thank
that's
you.
right.
A standard issue, huh?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, so have you been to Iceland? Or
Nope.
Brendan has? You
No,
haven't.
I haven't. And it was interesting because the first book, he's going to quickly leave the set This is this is very bad manners for a guest to do, but I'm leaving because I'm running
Oh,
to my
it's all right.
bookshelf.
Don't worry.
Running to my bookshelf because I wanted people to see that. If you haven't read Steel Fear from last year,
Oh, they're
it's just
awesome.
come out in paperback.
Oh, nice.
Just came out last week in paperback. So
Nice.
this will fit in your back pocket if you have a
And
good sized back pocket.
Kindle, both of them. Kindle.
Kindle, audiobook, great reader on the audiobook,
Oh,
both of them.
nice.
He's a
I don't know.
wonderful reader.
Did you do the voice on the audio?
No, I just recorded the first 31 chapters on Instagram, which I
Oh,
do I just for my Instagram followers. So
oh,
I did one a day for 31 days, and I do the
wow.
voice on that. But no, the audiobook you buy, the voice is voiced by a wonderful television actor, Jonathan McLean.
Oh,
Brilliant guy, and he does all the voices, all the accents, and all the characters. It's just like
oh,
it's like a theater production on
yeah.
audio. He's amazing.
Oh,
So
that's
if you like audiobooks, the audiobooks of Steel Fear and Cold Fear are phenomenal productions, but
oh, that's
Steel Fear is in
awesome.
paperback now. What I was going to say is, Steel Fear was set, for those of you who've read it, know this, on an aircraft carrier, which is a really weird environment. It's unlike anything any of us know. Most of us don't have any idea what that's like. I didn't. I mean, it's a ship, it's a big ship, but then you've come to find out it's like, imagine 5,000 or 6,000 people shut up in a steel tube the size of the Empire State Building, turned on its side and dropped in the ocean for 6 months. You don't get on or get off. I mean, typically they do get on and get off a few times, but not in the novel. They don't get off at all.
Well,
They're stuck in there.
the thing that
And
I didn't know too is when my first husband, I have to number him, don't judge. My first husband was in the Navy. I had
yes,
no idea of the level of that you have to comply to the pecking order, that there is a pecking order and everyone complies.
so
I
that's a
had
really
no
good point.
idea. Right.
It's a really unusual physical environment, and it's also a really unusual social environment that you're
Yeah.
describing. The Navy is kind of the most perhaps the most buttoned down of all. Well, I mean, they're all buttoned down in their own ways.
Good order.
The Marines and the Navy is really a tight operation because the Navy is, its constitution is it grew up on ships. There's not a lot of margin for error on ships. It isn't like you're walking around on land where if you fall down, you just fall down. The ship, you fall down, you're in the ocean, you drown.
Man,
So we had to recreate that environment, everything about that environment, which was an enormous challenge for that story, that novel. Brandon, of course, was in the Navy for years. He was a Navy SEAL. He was on the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is this particular aircraft carrier, for 6 months. So, we had a lot of backlog there. I visited the Lincoln. I was on that ship for a day. But that was one of the big challenges of that story. And so after it was over, we had book 2 to write. And first thing we said, of course, was, well, where are we going to go? Submarine? An airplane? A rocket ship? What environment? Brandon had told me about a trip he took to Iceland, where he had gone diving in this at the head of this lake. I think it's the largest natural lake in Iceland. It's about an hour out. It's a little less than an hour outside Reykjavik, the capital. And at the head of the lake, there's this place where you can go swimming. This Silfra Fissure, it's called, this fissure in the earth. And you go swimming in there, and as you're underwater, you can touch with your 2 hands the continental plates that hold up Eurasia and America.
Whoa.
It's the only place on planet Earth where you can touch 2 continents at the same time with your hands. And he described the environment of Iceland a little bit. And that was, a couple of years earlier. And when it came time to write Cold Fear, I thought, we've got to go to Iceland. Because Iceland is such an unusual, strange, weird in many ways environment. I thought that would really be a fun place to recreate, a stage to recreate for our readers. So in Cold Fear, you're not only immersed in the mystery of the story. Right in the prologue, a young woman runs barefoot down the street of Iceland in the middle of winter on Christmas Eve and runs into a duck pond, slips into the northeast corner and drowns. and we have no idea why. And that mystery drives the whole story. And then there are other mysteries of Finn's past and who's after him and so on. There's a former SEAL, a former teammate of his, who's now turned contract killer,
Ooh,
drug-addled psychotic killer
yeah,
who is
that's where I am.
after
I'm
him.
right there.
And so you're going to have this SEAL versus SEAL setup. Immovable object faces irresistible force, and how is that going to play out? So there are a lot of factors in the plot, but you're also thrust into this strange environment. And Iceland is an island, but it actually sits on top of a mountain, on top of the longest mountain range in the hemispheres, the mid-Atlantic ridge. It's an underground mountain ridge that runs from the southern parts of the globe to the northern parts of the globe, and Iceland is this uppermost peak. And so it is formed on a crack in the earth, on a volcanic crack in the earth that is pulling apart. The Finn describes it as a lunchbox sandwich cut on the diagonal. The country, it's two halves pulling apart by an inch every year.
Whoa.
And they call it the land of fire and ice because it's got full of volcanic and earthquake activity. And in the winter, as the story takes place, the sun is up only for a few hours a day. It comes up maybe by 11 in the morning or so, and by 3 it's already sunset. So it's mostly dark, and it's the oldest functional democracy on the planet. They had the first female head of state on planet Earth.
Wow.
It is routinely held up as like a paragon of gender equality and of human rights, of social parity. It is one of the most crime-free, safest places on the planet, but it is not entirely crime-free. And particularly after the week represented in cold fear. So no, I've never been there. And learning Iceland and recreating it as faithful as I possibly could was one of the great, great joys of writing the book.
Well, that's awesome. We do have some people watching, including my buddy Scott. Scott and I routinely every day talk about businesses we went in, what they did right, what they did wrong.
Yeah.
That's what we do, and that we always. And it's funny. I always end up talking to certain people about that kind of stuff, what the business is doing and how we can do
I
our
love that.
better because of it. We just happen to talk about that all the time. And we have Sue from Florida. She's on my team with Avon. We have
Hello, Sue.
Sherry, and Mariana from Anaheim, California, and Nita's on too. So we got
out. Wow, people from all over the state. I love it. Yeah. On Memorial Day, thank you for coming out on Memorial Day, or coming in on Memorial Day.
I got a feeling you and I have the same problem, is because I work for the best boss on earth. Right. I like am unaware of what holiday means, because
I know.
Every day's, just a day.
I mean every
day's an awesome day, but it's
exactly.
Day.
I know, it's so funny because Brandon and I Brandon, my writing partner, former Navy SEAL, and since he's separated from the service, from the military, he's an entrepreneur. And he is a hugely successful entrepreneur. He's the founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar media company that deals with foreign events and foreign policy and so on. Anyway, Brandon and I are constantly amused because our publisher, like, they're a corporation, right? And we'll be working with our agent or our publisher or editors or whatever. And they're on Thursday. They're like, well, we'll get to this on Monday, because often people in publishing take off Friday. They don't take off Friday. They typically have a huge reading load, and they'll go home and they'll spend the day reading. It's work, but they don't show up at the office. So on Thursday afternoon, they say, well, we'll pick this back up on Monday. And we're like, we'll pick it back up on Monday? Dude, it's like, we'll be working on Friday and on Saturday and on Sunday. It's like, yeah. We work at home. Our home is our life is our work is our home.
Yeah, really. I just think, and well, with the whole we're going to do everything on Zoom thing, that's been fun too. So I have clothes that are just Zoom clothes. This shirt's a Zoom shirt.
Very good.
It only looks good from here up.
I want everyone to know I am wearing pants, in case you were wondering. Brand new, actually. Nice
Thank
new
you
set
for
of
that.
jeans from Old Navy, if you really want to know.
Thank you for that.
Good, yes.
Oh, hey, you know what I wanted to say before I forget?
Yes.
I'm going to see you at the Connecticut. I'm coming to the
Oh, are
Connecticut
you? You're coming to the
Book
Hartford A. Oh, that
Fair.
is so great. Oh
Yes,
my
and
gosh, Lisa.
anybody that lives close, matter of fact, Teresa from Westmoreland, New Hampshire, you can come over and drive down with me if you
Oh,
want.
far out. That's so cool.
So,
I want to tell everybody, we had last year when Steel Fear came out, there was COVID still had the bookstores mostly shut down. There was no book tour happening, not live book tour. This year is my first book tour ever. Over 30 books. This is
oh,
the first time I've ever done a book tour.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh, this will be
yeah. And
fun.
so I'll give you I'll give you this website. It's not johndavidmann.com. I'll give you the website where the tour is in a few minutes. But first, I want everyone to know, Stuart and everybody else who's on. I forgot all your names already.
Marion, Teresa,
Marianne,
Scott,
Teresa,
Nita,
Scott.
Mariana.
Okay, thank you, all of you good people. So, um, you and tell your friends we're doing a book tour, and I wish we could go to more places. And we actually think that next year with book 3, which I'm already writing, we will go to more places. But we only could do what we could do this year.
Right.
So and I won't give you all the dates and everything like that here, but I'll tell you we're going to be in Manhattan, in Tribeca. We're going to be I'm going to be at 3 locations in Texas. Brandon's going to be in Miami and Portland, Oregon, and I'm doing a couple of places in the Northeast, namely a bookstore near Hartford, Connecticut,
Middleton, yeah.
in Middletown, yeah, where we're gonna see each other, and also a place in Rhode Island later in the month, and probably someplace right here in Pioneer Valley, Amherst, Northampton area where I live. I haven't got a date for that yet. So there
Awesome.
is a tour page on our website. Also, two virtual events. We're doing one event with Brad Thor, who is a superstar of the thriller world. Brad and Brandon and I are going to do a panel that'll be virtual, not in person, but online, live. So anybody can see that anywhere. And we're doing another one with Robert Crace, who is the author of the Elvis Cole and Joe Pike novels. They say you won't be familiar with these novels. It's not your wheelhouse. But Bob Crace was a writer on Hill Street Blues. I mean, he was a TV writer decades ago.
Yeah.
He is one of the grand old men. He's not old, but he's one of the grand writers of drama and fiction. He's a wonderful, wonderful, hugely accomplished writer, and he's going to be our host for another online event. And all those events are on our website, which is Webb and Man, WEBB, like Brandon Webb. Here we go. Webandman.com, although it's AND, not ampersand. So it's webandman.com. And we've got the tour page on there and all about the book on there and so on.
I'm going to put that in the group too, the Monday Morning Madness group, because I'm trying to get a group to go with me.
That would be so great.
I think is it after the bookstore closes? I was trying to scope out because I can't just blindly go somewhere. I have to know the whole thing. Because I'm weird that way. It says the book signing is at 7 at night, I think, and the bookstore closes earlier during the day, so it must be after closing.
My recollection is June 29. Is that correct? June 29.
Yes, I believe so.
It is.
I believe so. Yes.
I don't know when the store closes. RJ Julia. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. I don't know when the store closes. So
no, I think it just happens to be after that. I don't know. Either that or they're staying open for your event. That sure could be too.
That could be.
So I'm trying to meet with a bunch of people at Cracker Barrel up the road about a half hour. We'll all meet there and then come down together.
Fantastic.
One of the things I was thinking, I don't know, it's Middletown, right? Middletown or Middleton?
I think it's Middletown.
Middletown.
Yes.
Of course, I'm from out in the country. So right away, I'm thinking, how am I parking? Where am I parking? So if we have to leave cars up at Cracker Barrel and come down together, I have a 6-seater van. So that's what I was thinking.
I'll look into that. I'll ask about it. I don't know myself. I'm driving there too. So I'll have to.
That's
I
not
have the same
job.
question. I guess it isn't my job, not supposed, but anyway, I need to find out.
Anybody listening that wants to go with me?
Let's
work on that together.
My wife will be there with me. Anna is coming.
Oh, awesome.
Of course. and
Yay!
a
I
bunch of
haven't seen
other
either one of
friends.
you. I bet you I've seen you before, and we
Yeah,
just won't,
yeah,
because
some
we've been
event.
to too many things.
We've been traveling the same circles for decades. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So I bet you I've been probably one of Bob's things because I've been to a bunch of his things.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I bet you I've met you, but I don't remember, which is horrible.
And you have so many people, you know. You've been to a lot of events with a lot of people, as have I.
Right, right. Yeah. It's yeah, but I think that's gonna be fun, a book signing.
It's going to be
Yay.
really, really sweet. And anybody who's listening who happens to be in the area of, Miami, it's actually Coral Gables, um, or Manhattan, or Texas, Austin, Houston, Waco, et cetera, et cetera. So all there. You just look for the locations and
Yeah, Nita said she's in New York City, so she can go
fantastic.
to Manhattan. And I
The
know the
Mysterious
city, even though
Bookshop.
it says Facebook user, it says stopping near Amelia Island. That's got to be Andrea Patton, who is also an author.
Hey, Amelia Island. My wife and I are toying with the idea of moving to Amelia Island. So,
Oh,
but not in the next few weeks.
I should, I
So
should hook you up with her though, because
yeah,
she is
for
awesome.
sure,
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
awesome.
no, we are not coming. I'm not going to Florida at all, unfortunately, on this tour. I plan to next year with book 3, and we'll plan our book 3 book tour farther ahead of time. So
That's funny. Do you know that story about was it Wayne Dyer that went on the no, radio tour where he looked for the things and went all over the country making a name for himself by going from radio station to radio station. Do you know that story
I
or?
don't know.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, when I was dabbling in speaking more than I do now, I thought, I'm going to do that, except not on the radio. I'm just going to set up seminars, and I
Yeah.
thought I'll really get my speaking chops doing that. You know what I mean? I'll really
Yes.
be a. You know what I learned how to do? Wasn't speaking. I learned how
Drive.
to be a truck driver
Yeah.
because I was in a 1-ton. Right, I drove myself around. I didn't
Oh
fly,
wow.
trying to save money, and I slept
The,
in the back of the truck.
There is a lovely novelist named Jenny Milchman who lives in the Hudson Valley outside New York City, and her first novel I think is Cover of Snow. It was an award-winning
Ooh.
novel, and she's written 5 or 6 novels. I forget the number. In any case, Jenny hosted Brandon and me at a thing last year, which is also all last year's online stuff is on that same website, by the way. Past interviews, but anyway, Jenny, when her book came out, she did a book tour where she packed her husband and her kids in a van and took it on the road, and they went for 7 months
Oh,
around the
oh no, I
country,
didn't do that.
homeschooling the kids in the van.
Oh no, I didn't
And
do
I thought, wow, that is some serious dedication. I am
yeah,
actually not doing that. That's not my plan, but
no,
maybe
no.
when I was in my 20s, I might have thought about that.
It was funny that people were concerned for my safety. I went by myself, and it was probably 6 weeks out to California, 6 weeks back, and I
Good
did
for
a whole
you.
bunch.
Wow. Phew.
But people were concerned for my safety, and it was actually pretty hilarious because it was the extremes, which much of my life is. I'd do a seminar where everybody knew me because they paid to see my seminar. So
Right.
I'd be sitting there with 100 people that all knew me. But immediately, as soon as that over, I'm in a world where no one knows me or talks to me.
Yeah.
So even at the truck stops and stuff, even though I was driving a little bitty truck, the big trucks people would not talk to me.
There's a class system there. Yes.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right.
Oh, by the way, the Amelia Island was Debbie Britt from The Go-Giver,
Oh,
successful.
of course, of course.
That's
Yes, Anna and
awesome.
she are all yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
and
It's terrific.
they can't see who the name is because they didn't agree to StreamYard's thing, but it says, "Can John David Mann drop the name of book 3 yet?" Do you know the name? Oh, listen, he's not sure he's gonna do it.
It's so funny because last year at this time we didn't have the name. What? Yeah, I will tell you, it's going to be Blind Fear.
Blind.
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 Can't
Okay,
see.
blind. Oh,
Blind Fear.
blind fear.
Yeah, why
Oh,
not put it
that's
out there?
awesome.
I'm
Oh, okay.
working
That's
on it now.
yeah. You can see the smoke coming out of my. I'm thinking,
Yeah,
oh,
you're thinking about it. What does that
yeah,
mean? What's going to happen? Where are we going to be?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, and of course Finn is in it, right? Finn goes through the
Finn
whole
is in
series.
it. The
Yeah.
story of Finn. So the Finn books are. How in a great television show, a great television drama, there will be a story arc that completes over the course of one season. But then there'll be other larger arcs that don't resolve only resolve over the
Oh, and
entire
that's what you're
series.
doing with the Finn.
Yeah, so in Steel Fear, there was a serial killer on the ship, and by the end of the story, you know who it was. The crime has been solved. That's kind of what that book was about in terms of plot, anyhow. But there were larger questions about Finn and this massacre that happened in Mukalla in southern Yemen, and also about his childhood and pieces of his life that he doesn't remember. So there were these larger Finn issues. In book 2, in Cold Fear, there is this mystery of the woman in the lake. Who is she? What is she? What did she know? What did she see? Finn keeps repeating this phrase. What did she see? What does she know? And although I'll say this, in Cold Fear, there are 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 really strong female characters. One of them is the Icelandic detective, Krista Kristjansdottir, whom you meet in chapter 2. And one of them is a woman named Oksana Shevchenko, who is Ukrainian. And she's there in Iceland to solve a mystery. And then the third is a woman is the woman who dies on page 5. And even though she's dead, I won't say how, but she emerges by the end of the story as an extraordinary character and as a very heroic character. So there are these mysteries in Cold Fear that get solved by the end of the book. But these larger mysteries of Finn's life, we move the ball down the court a ways. By the end of Cold Fear, you know more about what happened in Mukalla. You know more about Finn's past, but there's still so many unanswered questions, and the biggest questions are still unanswered. And that may be, I don't know, book 5, book 6, book 7. It's going to take a number of books. So book 3 will have its own mystery, its own story that will take you through, its own world that we're going to visit, and we'll still be working on Finn's larger story, and I can promise you it won't resolve in book 3, but we'll know more. We'll have a better understanding of it.
You know, it's funny. I said Sidney Sheldon was the first one I did. That's not true. It was Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
I read the whole set, even the cookbook.
I understand. Man, I read the Perry Mason books when I was a kid.
Yeah. And
so.
by the way, who asked for the book title was Peg, the Duchess.
Oh, Peg Duchesne.
Yes, the Duchess.
Sneaky.
Yeah. So she's happy. She says, "I'm in the know."
I'm tempted to say, "Don't tell anybody," although I just did. So I'll say, "Don't tell anybody," and then it'll be our secret. And I will try not to spill it on any more podcasts.
Oh no, that's exciting actually.
It's funny with Steel Fear, title was the first thing we had. Brandon had the title before he even enrolled me in writing it. Oh. And then Cold Fear, we had the story. I put it out on my blog actually in the beginning of January 2020. I said, I got this story. Here's the prologue. I'd already written it. The woman running down the street in Reykjavik. I said, we don't have a title. And so I kind of ran a contest, and lots of people, threw out ideas. We accumulated about 40 or 50 title suggestions. Oh. This time I got the title early on, so it's done.
So you must have made the decision that everyone's going to have the word fear in it.
It seems that way.
Oh, so you just want to, okay, so I see where
it does seem that way.
You're not going to admit that.
Brandon and I actually wrote a nonfiction book, which not everybody might be familiar with I think it was the last book we wrote before we wrote Steel Fear, which is called Mastering Fear. And it's in the book. What we did was we took Brandon's experiences. The story opens with Brandon and a friend who is this brilliant, extremely successful entrepreneur, angel investor, really, really sharp guy, Kamal Ravikant. It's Naval Ravikant's brother, but he's terrified. He can't swim. He's terrified of water. Couldn't swim. So here's this sophisticated man of the world, highly successful in business entrepreneur who is terrified to swim, and Brandon agrees to teach him how to swim. He says, "No, you don't understand. I've been taught by the best. I've had Olympic swimmers come and teach me the best, and it's always a failure." And Brandon was like, "It doesn't matter. I'll teach you." And in a matter of a week, he did. And so he got him past his fear, and he got him through his fear. And so we talked about this. This would make a great book. So I took Brandon's experiences, and I look back on my own experiences with fear in my life, and extracted from that what is in the book a 5-step process for mastering fear. And I think it's a really good book, frankly. It's a book I wish that I would have the opportunity to promote more. But it's interesting that we had that book, and that was followed by this thriller series, which is Everyone
Well,
Has
what's the
Fear in the
title of
title.
that first book? So
Mastering Fear.
Mastering Fear. Okay.
Mastering
And
Fear. Yeah.
it's co-written by the two of you, just
Yep.
like these are. Oh, nice.
Yep.
Okay.
And by the way, on the website, Web and Man, you'll find that book.
Oh, okay. Well, that
We've
makes
written 8 books together, and they're all on the website.
nice. Yeah, and the other one that I think people should go to get from you in particular is the How to Write Better.
Oh, how to write good. How to write good.
How to Write Gooder.
How to write good, or at least gooder.
Or at least gooder,
You
because
got to get this title right.
there's a lot of people that are probably listening to this that are wannabe writers
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and not
because-
necessarily published writers of novels, but
Right.
writers of blogs, writers of compelling, engaging Instagram posts or Facebook posts, writers of newsletters for your organizations, writers of copy, for sales copy. Yeah, most professional people are actually writers.
Oh, the Duchess put the Mastering Fear URL in the comments for you.
Oh, nicely done. I don't see the comments because I'm on StreamYard, not on Facebook. So thank you. Thank you, Peg. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, that was awesome. Yeah, and no, I lately it dawned on me, which you're gonna laugh because I'm sure you thought of this long ago. I'm actually joining the Writers Guild here in town. I've never considered myself a writer.
No, that's common. Yes, I
But the
understand.
reality is I'm writing a lot, and
Yeah,
my words do make a difference for my business. So it
yeah.
makes sense for me to study writing if I'm going to be that much of a writer.
In the
So-
book, one of the things that I think there's a line in there somewhere, if I can remember what I said myself, but being published doesn't make you a writer. Earning an income from your writing isn't what makes you a writer. Being famous certainly isn't what makes you a writer. What makes a writer is this: you work at every day, you write every day, and you improve it every day. You
Oh.
work at improving your writing every day. If you're working at improving your writing, if you're trying to write gooder every day, you're a writer. That qualifies you as a writer. Maybe not a professional writer, but maybe as I said, a lot of people who are professionals are also writers because we write stuff. Emails, that's writing.
Well, and it's important. To me, there's going to be, like, I have a big team of thousands in my direct sales company.
Yes.
Some of those people are never going to meet me in person. The
Right.
only thing they're ever going to know about me is something I've written.
Yeah.
And if I'm incoherent, that's what they're going to think of me. And it's not
Yes.
it's not that what they think of me matters, but it matters in their trust of my ability to lead the team.
It does. It
If
does.
I can't
Words.
coherently write a sentence, that's not good.
Good. And here's the thing too: as you work on your writing is a unique thing in the human experience. Writing, as you work on your writing, you work on your thinking. The reason good writing is so important is because good thinking is important. And when you take something you've written and you've drafted and you work at it, you say, now, how can I say what I'm saying? What is it I'm saying here, actually? How can I say what I'm saying here so that it's a little clearer, so that it has a little more impact? And am I saying one thing here, or am I really saying two things and kind of mashing them together? And do I need to separate them and make them, or am I really saying something else that I didn't quite say because I was saying this other stuff? Also, am I using other people's words? Is this cliche that what I'm saying? Am I just writing something that I've said before, but haven't actually examined it? It's like, as you take what you've drafted and you polish it like a gem, right? So that it's like a diamond in the rough that you're polishing. with machines and with whatever tools they use to polish diamonds. I have no idea how that works. I've never watched that process. But as you're polishing what you've written to make it shine, make it gleam, what you're really working on is your thinking, is your thoughts. And that's really useful because your thoughts are what drive your car. They're what navigate your life. They're what dictate everything you do. And so improving your writing, clarifying your writing, it's like you're saying, it isn't just so they'll think, better of you, or it's going to impact their opinion of you. You're shining a clearer light in their direction. You're lighting their path with more clarity so they can see forward better. Great thoughts, great writing illuminates paths for people. That's what I was saying at the beginning of this conversation, is that for me, a good novel isn't to distract you or to take you away from life or to entertain you or to entertain you. It's to illuminate your path in life, or it's to help illuminate your path in life. So yeah, that I'm really fond of that book, How to Write Good, or at least gooder. I haven't published it in official publishing form yet. It's still on my website as a free download. That's only way you can get it.
Yeah, but, that's awesome.
One of these days, probably the next few years, I'll really publish it.
I want to know your opinion on something unusual, probably, but I don't know. For me, when I'm thinking something through or making my lists or whatever I'm doing, I still handwrite it. And when I'm writing certain things, it depends on how important it is. If I'm writing my story or something, I'm writing it in cursive even.
That's so interesting. There are different writers.
The younger generation isn't going to be experiencing that. Do you think that's going to help or hurt, or does it matter even?
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind. The first is, I know when email first started becoming prevalent, when a lot of people started getting onto email accounts, and it began overtaking written mail as a medium. I remember a lot of commentators bemoaning sort of the death of writing, that nobody writes anymore. It's like, which is nonsense. Of course, people write more than ever. So they may not handwrite with a quill on a parchment. They may not. They say, "Dear Mary, the rebs are coming closer every day." So they don't do it with their hand on a paper, but they're still writing, forming words. That said, I know that for me there is something that is unique about taking up a pen, my tool, and taking up a pad. These are my writing tools when I'm drafting a chapter or outlining a book, or just starting something.
Favorite pens too.
In fact, my favorite pen is a really, really cheap Pilot. It's called B2P, which means bottle to plastic. It's recycled
mine are the
plastic.
Hotel pens.
So here's what I do, and some of the people who've heard me in podcasts before know this, but here's what I do. I have two places in my office. This is my home office. So right now I'm sitting at my desk. Well, I can't show you my desk. I'm at my desk. This is my laptop that I'm on. But over in the corner, can I do this? Over in the corner of where is it? Come on. There it is. There you can see.
Your chair.
Yeah, that chair. That is the chair where I wrote Cold Fear. Huh. That's the chair where I write. I sit in that chair at 5 a.m. with a blank pad of paper and a pen and a blank mind, or at least as blank as I can make it. I say, now, what the hell am I doing? I have no idea. And I go fishing for thoughts, for ideas. I will scribble stuff down on a pad of paper. This is whether it's a novel or it's a blog post. I don't draft emails and messages, but anything I'm writing that I'm going to take some care in, emails, I will just handwrite on the computer. I'll start with this, and pretty soon, like within a half a page of scribbles, I'll take it over here to the desk and I'll sit down on my computer and I'll put it in there, and then I'll start blah, 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 and I type pretty fast. But it's a different kind of mindset. I like handwriting because it's slow and laborious and messy. My handwriting is terrible, and it kind of follows the path of my my unformed thinking. Typing follows the path of my formed thinking, and I can go zing, 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 and that's good too. But
I
I
guess
use
it's
both.
just what made me think of it is my kid is turning 17 in a couple weeks.
Right.
Doesn't have a signature.
Wow. So that's interesting.
That's something that I spent so much time on because I knew some places in my life, that's the only thing they'd see of me
Yeah.
is my signature. So it mattered to me. My signature is something that matters to me, and I practiced it and everything. And the kid, they said sign a paper, and he was like confused. And
Wow.
he just writes it because he doesn't do
That's
cursive. They didn't teach it at all.
that is
And
thought
he
provoking.
doesn't, I know. So I don't know if he's missing, although he's a good reader. He reads a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
not stuff that I'd like him to read about what's new. I don't actually, because he's a teenager, I don't dare voice my opinion because he'll definitely not read it then.
I'll go the other way. Yeah. I think that's good.
So I'm
That's
just
good
trying to
judgment on your
live by
part.
example and hope for the best, I guess.
I'll
So
tell you this, Lisa. I was a terrible reader. I mean, I was an avid reader as a kid, but by the time I was, that's not true. I was never a terrible reader, but I my reading life went all over the place in my
oh.
teenage years and in my early adulthood, and it's like nobody could have possibly corralled it.
Oh, but you were you said this on the other show. You started a high school
That's true.
and you were a professional cellist. Is
This
that
is also true. That's right.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, right.
Yeah. So
I
you're
feel
pointing
like
out that my life went all over the place. Yes,
well,
it's
I
true.
mean, I
I
feel like
had
I did
many
nothing.
careers.
Sitting here
Uh,
talking to you, I'm thinking I'm trying not to compare my meager whatever I did because that is wildly awesome that you
meager
have
would
those big things.
meager would never have been one of the words I would have thought of to describe your career to date. It's funny. I have this is almost relevant to what you just said. I'm working on book 3 right now, and it's a titanic mental struggle not to compare this story to Cold Fear. When I started writing Cold Fear, I was surrounded by these negative thoughts of, well, Steel Fear really worked. How can I possibly follow that? Yeah, what do you do for an encore? How can
Yeah.
I possibly follow that up? And it was really hard not to measure the developing story of Cold Fear against Steel Fear. That's a totally different story. And a lot of the things that happened in Steel Fear don't happen in Cold Fear. It's a different story. Now I'm sitting here writing third book, Blind Fear, which nobody knows but you. And it's this titanic struggle not to have Cold Fear in my head as, well, when these things happen in Cold Fear, what's the new version of that? I think that it's, Neil Gaiman once told a friend of his, and I've got to look this up to remember this wonderful novelist's name. I've forgotten it, but Neil said to this guy, I think he was working on American Gods, and he said, I think I've finally learned how to write a novel. And his friend said, oh, Neil, he says, you never learn how to write a novel. You only learn how to write the novel you're writing.
Oh.
And that's like, you could say that about parenting. You never learn how to parent. You learn how to parent the kid you're parenting.
The one.
And it's also true about being a professional. You are the professional that you are. You have the career that you have. There isn't any way to learn how to have the career that you have, even if others have had similar careers that are superficially similar in certain ways, because it was a different path. And comparing, I'm extrapolating from your offhand comment, but comparing and I think this is useful to any entrepreneur or any professional, using others' success, or even just others' paths, others' histories, others' resumes as any kind of yardstick for yours is bound to do more harm than good. It's not a useful exercise. It's extraordinarily useful to borrow from other people's experience, to learn from other people's experience, to have mentors who can, point the way in specific ways. But in terms of what your path looks like, never been done before. Never been done before.
Yeah, that's something I'm working on. The insecurities of not comparing. Yeah.
You and nobody else. Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. You and everybody else. That's right.
That is a genuinely good point right there. Yeah. So let's see. Oh, Nita said cursive writing is the best. Yeah. Do you prefer cursive or the other? What is the other called even? Just regular
Print,
writing?
printing. I think they call it
Printing
printing.
in cursive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love cursive, and I don't know why. I like printing too, but I like cursive, and I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking with somebody the other day, Jeff Brown, who runs the Read to Lead podcast, and he was saying when he writes in all block caps, and I said, really, that's so interesting. I write cursive. My cursive is more cursed than Iv. It's
Dr.
pretty
Cursive,
terrible.
or no one knows what you're saying.
I write in cursing. Yeah, it's almost illegible. There have been frustrating times where I couldn't quite make out what I wrote, and it was really
Oh
good.
no!
I know it was good, but I couldn't
Make
quite
your
read
own
it.
writing out? That's not good.
Mostly I can read it.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
I'm really, really grateful for the invention of typewriters and now computers because
Yeah,
yeah.
and
I know of authors who write entire books in blank notebooks with a pen. I can't
oh
fathom of doing that. Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, one of my favorite novelists, he does that. King does that. I can't imagine doing that. My
yeah.
writing wouldn't my hand wouldn't last half a page.
I wouldn't want to write that much. That I'm like you, where I do write down my notes and stuff, but then I go to the computer because you can switch it and it'll spell check you and stuff.
Thank God for the laptop.
Right.
Well, for me, even more important for me is I can also take a chunk, copy it and paste it over here and and I do that a lot.
Oh,
I draft stuff and then I'm
nice.
moving it around all over the place. I move entire chapters to here. I move a comment to here. And yeah, it's messy.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, and sadly I'm old enough. I remember the
Word
IBM
processors.
Selectric with the
Me
whirly
too.
ball and all
Yep.
that. Yeah, yeah. And did you know I worked a job?
I worked on those.
Like 19, I think I was, over on Guam, worked for the government and on an
Nice.
IBM Selectric, and they had carbon paper with tissues, colored tissues. So if you made a mistake, you had to go through all the little tissues and erase it. So
Wow.
when they wanted volunteers to work on the brand new IBM, no, it was a Wang computer in a air conditioned room, and it was a big giant room
Right.
for it. They wanted
Right.
volunteer. I was the only one that volunteered, and it was because I typed so bad. I didn't want to have to do the tissues.
I never knew about those tissues. I worked on an IBM Selectric for years. I
I don't
remember
know.
those
The
guys.
government was doing that. The colored tissues, and a tissue went to each department, and they had
Yeah.
pastel colored.
Only
tissue.
the government has layers of bureaucracy that would dictate layers of different colored tissue for your mistakes. That's unique to the government.
Right. No, that's true enough. Yeah. Oh no, this is the book is going to be awesome. I can't wait for the new one to come out.
Hmm.
That's going to be so awesome. I'm so jealous that Bob already read it. Now I'm at 35%. So,
I read the. I think I was saying this to you perhaps before we hit record or went live. I'm not sure, but I read the first 31 chapters of the book on Instagram. And I'm putting it on Facebook as well. Though my Facebook post is 5 days behind my Instagram post. But anyway, so on my Instagram page and on my Facebook, my professional Facebook page, my author page, you can follow the first 31 chapters of the book if you want. I just did that for fun, just to give people a teaser. And that's about 35% of the book. That's about where you are, because that takes us right through the first 2 days of the book. So I guess it's about a third of the book. But for the whole book, you'll need to actually get a copy.
Which we all want to do.
And if I said this before we went live, the reader for the audiobook is an exceptionally good reader. As it happens, he also read Steel Fear and he also read Mastering Fear.
Oh.
And after Steel Fear came out, actually before it came out, when he first got the manuscript and read it, he was on a flight to England because he co-wrote a TV show that is just aired on Hulu, I think, It was out of theaters, and now it's in Hulu, and it's called The Outfit.
Oh.
And I haven't seen it yet. I've only seen pieces of it, but it looks like an incredibly powerful, high quality, amazing, very taut, tense drama. British deal. The Outfit, it's called The Outfit.
These books are going to be movies.
I'll come to this, but okay. I'll just finish this. So anyway, Jonathan was co-writer of the script for The Outfit. So he was on his way to England, and he wrote me an email and said, I just read the script for Steel Fear. They Bantam, they asked me if I would read the audiobook. And I was like, this book he blew him away. He was blown away. I have never had the audiobook reader of one of our books contact me because I love the book so much. I mean, that was a unique experience. So we've stayed in touch and become friends. He reads Cold Fear. And I say this only because if you're an audiobook lover, there's some people who only read books on audiobook. And if that describes you, you're in for a treat, because Jonathan McLean's audiobook versions of the Finn books are outstanding. He does all the characters and all the accents, and and he's great. He's an actor. He's an accomplished television actor. He was on Mad Men. He was on. You've seen him on TV. Nice. You just don't know his name. And then of course there's an ebook and there's the hardcover now. But you said the thing about movies. So Steel Fear and Cold Fear, the whole Finn series, is in development, which is Hollywood language for it's kind of in limbo.
But still.
Yeah. We're working with a producer. We're working with a guy who was the driving force behind turning the Jason Bourne novels into movies and then later television. So he has an extraordinary resume.
That's awesome.
He's a really sharp guy. Brandon and I just love this guy. We've been working with him for over a year on this project. We have an amazing writer whose name I won't divulge yet, but he's an amazing television writer. Whether or not it's going to come out as a streaming series on TV, which is very possible, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, one of those, or a series of feature films. We don't know for sure yet. It's going to come out screens large or small. It's going to come out on screen at some point somewhere down the road.
Wow. That is
and based on who's involved at this point, I would say it's going to be good, which you never know. As a novelist, you never know when they make an adaptation of your books. It just could be like you don't even want to tell your friends about it because it's so.
Does a lot of the power get taken from your hands? You don't get
typically all of it. Not in every case, but in like 95% of the time. You can be James Patterson, and Patterson tells this great story about being in a screening room for the first Alex Cross movie, and he's in the room watching, and I think the director's next to him, and they're looking at the daily rushes, the daily takes, and he's looking at Morgan Freeman, who's being Alex Cross, and Morgan Freeman's having this long conversation with this woman, and Patterson's watching, and he turns to the producer or whoever it is and says, who the hell is that woman? And I said, oh, that's Alex Cross's sister. And Patterson goes, oh, okay. Alex Cross has a sister? This is the guy who wrote the Alex Cross books. So, they take it away from you, typically.
Yeah.
I think that Brandon and I are going to have a lot more, or at least some more participation in these productions than is typical, because we've been working really tightly with the guy. So we'll see how that plays out.
I didn't know there's a pecking order and all this stuff, everything, that little community theater thing.
Humanity, baby.
Good point. I ended up being the producer, which I didn't realize. Producer.
That's
means you write checks and are a gopher, which is
producer means it has. Producer is the most ambiguous term in dramatic production. It means 1,000 different things. There are many different levels of producers.
So I found that out, but
so
I didn't
know
all the other stuff I had to learn because I'd never been involved in any of that. And the thing that I didn't realize was the novel, the person that wrote the book that we did the play on, has the ultimate say in a lot of the stuff if we wanted to change it. She was here. And also the playwright does, the one that wrote the play. If you wanted to change stuff, you pretty much had to convince them that it was a good idea. That's
theater. That's theater.
Okay.
That's theater. And publishing is a lot like that. in publishing, the editor makes lots of suggestions, but the author has the final word.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
in the contract, the publisher has the final word. But
Oh,
in reality, because
yeah.
the publisher actually owns the book. Like if you publish with a traditional publisher, the
Mhm.
publisher buys the book from you. It's like it's their book. I mean, you retain the copyright. It's still your book in the sense that you wrote it. And depending on the contract, you may retain certain rights. But for example, you in this case, you retain dramatic rights. Brandon and I own the dramatic rights to Steel Fear and Cold Fear. But Bantam owns the book.
The book.
So by contract, they have final say over what's in the cover, even over what it's titled, and over every word inside the book by contract. But in practice, they always defer to the author.
But they still want to keep you happy, so you'll be promoting the
They
book.
they want to keep you happy, and also they respect your judgment. It's
Right.
your
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
So an editor, we have a phenomenal editor, and I've always seen in the backs of books in the acknowledgement sections when authors rave about their editors, and I always kind of wondered, like, what's that about? I know now what that's about, because a really great editor can really affect enormous change in the book from your first draft to the final published version. But here's how that works. A really great editor, like our editor, Ann Spire, she's phenomenal. And she'll come back and she'll say, I love this. I think this part doesn't quite work, or it's a little out of focus. And she'll describe what she thinks is off and why and how. And she may even have some ideas about, where you may look but she doesn't tell you what to do. She doesn't know how to fix it, because fixing it is your job. It's your business. So she won't write an alternative chapter or write an alternative dialogue for you. She
Right.
says, here's what I think is off. By the way, fun piece of trivia. So here we are with Cold Fear. In Steel Fear, every chapter or every part of the book opened with a graphic.
Oh,
You can't see it that well on the screen, but basically it's like a radar screen.
yeah.
And there are like 7 parts in the book, and every part opened with one of those. And in Cold Fear, every part likewise opens with a graphic which depicts ice of various sorts, ice floating in water.
See, I'm missing that on Kindle.
You're missing on Kindle. So the fun thing I wanted to tell you
That's
is
cool.
the designer, her name is Virginia Nori, the designer who designs the interior of the book and who clicked those graphics and made the whole thing happen, is the same designer who does the interior of the Jack Reacher books.
Oh.
And the guy, Carlos Beltran, who designed our cover and also did the Steel Fear cover, he's also the same guy who designs the Jack Reacher covers.
Oh.
So that makes me cozy and warm when I go to bed at night. Just knowing that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
fun.
glad you shared all that back story stuff, because there are a lot of people on here that want to be writers, and they're living vicariously through you until they get
Well, it's sweet because in the publishing world, as the writer, you are the king, in the sense that they work with you and they do everything they can to support you. But really, it is you have the final say. Completely the opposite in Hollywood. In Hollywood, the writer is like kind of the same status as the guy who holds up the lights on the edge of the stage. It's because what happens with a Hollywood production, think about it this way. When you're writing a book, Steel Fear took me 2 years. Brandon and me 2 years to write. Cold Fear took a year to write, and a year to write a novel is very commonplace. It's kind of standard, or 9 months or 10 months. But the better part of a year to write a novel. Then you give it over to the publisher, and they put a team of designers and marketers and editors on it, and everybody puts in their time, and they're going to put in, I don't know, a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, a couple dozen hours. But the bulk of the work of the book is writing it. What they're really doing is dressing it up to make it, putting a nice suit on it and combing its hair and brushing its teeth. But you wrote the book. In Hollywood, it isn't that way. In Hollywood, when you set out to make a movie, you're not setting out to just make a movie. You're founding a business. You're starting a whole new business.
Wow, yeah.
The whole new business is just that movie is a business. because you're going to invest maybe $100 million. $100
Yeah,
million.
that's a lot of money.
You're going to hire hundreds of employees. I mean, maybe 1,000 employees for months at a time. Think about the budget. It's like a presidential campaign. To create a presidential campaign in the US, you actually build an entire business. I wrote a book with somebody who was the COO of a presidential campaign. And it's like, I never realized this before. You're starting a whole new business. Same with a movie. So they're investing enormous amounts of money. As the writer, you're just a little piece because the visual set, the actors, their delivery, the direction of the actors, the director is the one who has kind of the vision of how the whole thing is. In publishing, the author is the director. In movie or TV, the director is the director.
Well, and even in that little community theater thing, my job ended up being make the director happy, because we found a guy that had been working on productions in New York. That directed our little play here in town.
That's so cool.
He graduated high school here, but he was such a professional. I loved watching him work. And
That's
all
really
I
cool.
could think of is, I need to keep this man happy so he doesn't wander off from this little project.
Yeah, that's really fascinating.
Right. So when he had a disagreement of what the script said or something, I tried to mediate best as I could because I wanted him happy. So
theater is famously, it's kind of you have almost the same kind of dynamic. The theater, if you have the writer on hand or the script author, spacing on that, or whatever the term is for script author.
Playwright, isn't it? Playwright.
Playwright. Thank you. Very good. You have the playwright on hand, or as you were saying, if you have the original, novelist on hand or writer on hand, and the director, then you have, kind of battling visions, and that can be
a little bit thing. Yeah.
In a TV movie, you might have the same dynamic if your star is a big name and have an A-list star. Then you might have a star and a director who are at odds, and then the producer may step in to try to mediate, just like you're saying. None of that ego battle stuff happens in publishing, at least not in my experience.
Yeah. So who do you see playing Finn? And then we should probably go, because I've kept you too long. I'm sorry.
It's been an hour, hasn't it? Yeah. I mean, we hardly talked about the book, but that's okay because you have to read the book. But
well, I didn't want to say too much, because then
who would? Yeah, I know. It's true. It's true. Yeah. I want people to know about those 3 female characters. I want them to know about the seal versus seal, about Iceland. Anyway, so we got who would play Finn? It's funny. We've had a number of people. When I first was writing Steel Fear, I envisioned Rami Malek playing Finn. And I still have Rami Malek in my head frequently.
He would be awesome.
In Cold Fear, you get a more vivid visual description of his face and of Finn than you do in Steel Fear. And it's, you can see that I have Rami Malek in my head. That won't be who plays Finn, I don't think, in television.
I think it would be a good choice. He could do it.
Yeah, but we've actually had several other name actors in consideration, and I won't say who's in consideration right now, but because these things change constantly. But all I can say now is make up your own cast list. Meanwhile, we'll see. When will it be? This year, next year, the following year? I don't know.
Oh, but definitely go get the books. Have a head start on everybody else. Keep up with us, because now I'm at 36%. I think it is read. I
envy you. I envy you that you don't know what happens at the end yet. That's really sweet.
Oh, that's awesome. But thank you so much for spending some of your Memorial Day. I appreciate that. This said, can you only get the books through your site?
No. Anywhere books are sold. The book comes out on June 7th. And you can buy them. I think Steel Fear, the paperback, is at Walmart and Target. I mean, obviously Barnes and Noble, Amazon, indie bookstores. I'm a huge fan of indie bookstores. But you can buy, as they say, everywhere books are sold. You can buy them there. And
make sure you go on and look for the autograph tour. That's not what it's called. The book tour.
Book tour. You can buy autograph copies on our website. One of the mysterious bookshop, which is the store in Manhattan where we'll be live. We're going to sign books, and those are actually you can mail order those from anywhere in the country.
But we want to stand in line and see you and have you sign it while we're standing there.
That's even better. It's better for me. I get to see you. You
That's what
can
I'm
ask
going to be doing
questions
in
live in the
Connecticut.
audience and we can go back and forth.
I'm going to be doing that in
Yeah.
Connecticut. You, hopefully you go, do I know you? I
Yeah,
think I
I've
know
seen you
you.
before somewhere in a small box on my desk. Yeah, we'll be signing books everywhere we go.
Because that'll be awesome. I can't wait to stand
It'll
in
be
line
fun.
with my book. So
And it will be a beautiful day.
awesome.
It
Well,
will
I
be
will
called.
let you go, and thank you very much. I
Thank
really
you so much,
appreciate
Lisa.
it.
Really, really appreciate this. Thank you, all of you who are tuning in today on Memorial Day. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of time with us. I hope you enjoy Finn's saga.
And stay right there a second, okay? I'll turn off the recording. Thank you.